based on real stories that happen every day around us. Humble people who make extraordinary choices. Rich people who learn that fortune doesn't buy loyalty. And families that are formed not by blood, but by love. Value those who value you. Protect those who protect you. And never, never underestimate the power of an honest heart. Traffic was surprisingly light that afternoon. Rodrigo drove his black Mercedes AMG down the main avenue, his cell phone on speakerphone, transmitting his partner's irritated voice. "Rodrigo, you can't cancel this meeting. The investors came from São Paulo, especially for Mauricio, I know. But I have a problem at home that can't wait. We'll reschedule for tomorrow." Rodrigo hung up before his partner could protest further. The truth was, there was no problem. Or rather, there wasn't until that moment. Rodrigo was simply exhausted, tired of endless meetings, business dinners, constant pressure. He decided to return home 4 hours early, take a hot bath, and relax in his private office. The electric gate opened automatically upon recognizing the car's license plate. Rodrigo parked in the garage next to Camila's white SUV, his wife. Strange. She should be at the spa until 7 in the evening. Entering through the kitchen side door, everything seemed normal. The smell of cleaning products hung in the air. Donna Celia, the housekeeper, was working. Rodrigo loosened his tie and walked toward the office, his private sanctuary on the second floor. That's when he heard it. Hurried footsteps, the muffled sound of drawers being opened and closed. They were coming from inside his office, the place where absolutely no one had permission to enter without his presence. Rodrigo's heart began to race. He approached slowly, each step calculated not to make noise on the beige carpet. The door was ajar. Through the crack, he could see movement. He pushed the door slowly. What he saw made him lose all the air from his lungs. Donna Celia, the 58-year-old woman who had worked in his house for 7 years, was standing in front of the wall safe. The safe, his private safe, hidden behind a Portinari painting valued at $2 million. And it was open. Documents spread across the mahogany desk, open folders. And Celia, with a cell phone in hand, methodically photographing everything. Celia Rodrigo's voice came out hoarse, almost inaudible. What are you doing?" The woman turned abruptly, her face showing surprise, but not the panic Rodrigo expected to see. There was something different in her eyes. Determination, urgency. "Mr. Rodrigo." She lowered her cell phone but didn't put it away. "You shouldn't be here right now. I shouldn't." Rodrigo's voice exploded. "In my office, in my house, with my safe open." His legs were trembling. 7 years. 7 years he had trusted this woman. She knew the family's schedules, had access to all areas of the house, knew their routines. And now she was there, shamelessly robbing him. "Sir, please, let me explain." Celia took a step forward, hands extended in a conciliatory gesture. "Explain what?" Rodrigo felt blood rush to his head. "That you're a thief, that you've been planning this all along? How many times have you done this, Celia?" "How many?" "None, sir. I swear to God by my son I've never stolen anything from you." "Then why are you photographing my documents?" Rodrigo pointed to the open safe, to the scattered papers. "Are you going to sell information about my companies?" "Is that it?" Celia closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering courage. When she opened them again, there were tears there, but also an unshakable firmness. "No, Murad Rodrigo, I'm not stealing anything. I'm saving you." The answer was so unexpected that Rodrigo fell silent, processing the words. "Saving? From what? From whom, sir?" "The right question is, from what worm?" Zelia took a deep breath. "Because someone was already stealing this information." "For months. And that someone is much, much closer to you than you imagine. To understand what happened in that office, we need to go back in time. 3 weeks earlier, on a sunny Thursday morning, Don Celia arrived at the mansion at 7 in the morning, as she had done for 7 years. She greeted the security guard, got her cleaning materials, and started the routine. First floor, then the second, always leaving Rodrigo's office for last, when he had already left for work. On that specific day, while dusting the furniture below the Portinari painting, something fell. A small object, black, no bigger than a matchbox. Celia bent down to pick it up, confused. It looked like some kind of electronic device. It had a tiny lens and a red light that blinked faintly. Strange. She had never seen that before. She put the object in her apron pocket, thinking about asking Mr. Rodrigo about it later. But something bothered her. Why was it hidden behind the painting? And that lens? It looked like a camera. Celia didn't understand anything about technology. Her cell phone was an old model she could barely use for calls. But her son Marcos, 28 years old, worked with computers. He would know what it was. That night, in her small house in the back of the property, Celia showed the device to her son. Marcos took the object, his eyes widening immediately. "Mum, where did you find this?" "In Rodrigo's office. It fell when I was cleaning." "Why? What is it?" Marcos turned the device in his hands, examining it carefully. "Mum, this is a spy camera. And it's not one of those cheap ones sold on the internet. This is professional equipment. Must cost about 5,000–6,000 reais." Celia's heart skipped a beat. "Camera? But did Maraca Rodrigo install this?" "I don't know, Mommy. But there's something very wrong here." Marcos grabbed his laptop and connected the device through an almost imperceptible USB port. His fingers flew across the keyboard while codes appeared on the screen. "Let me see. This is transmitting." "Yes, to a cloud server. Is that good or bad?" "It means someone is watching these recordings remotely." And Marcos stopped, his expression becoming somber. "Mom, I managed to track who accesses these images. And who is it? The IP address is from the mansion itself." "Mum, whoever is spying on Mr. Rodrigo lives in his house." Celia felt a chill run down her spine. Lives in the house. That meant the wife, the daughter, some other employee. In the following days, Celia began to observe everything with different eyes. And that's when she started finding more cameras. One behind the antique clock in the meeting room. Another disguised inside a fake book on the couple's bedroom shelf. A third inside the living room sound system. Someone was watching Rodrigo Almeida's every move. And whoever it was had total access to the house. It was Marcos who suggested the plan. "Mum, you need to find out who it is. But you have to be smart. I'll give you a small camera, one with Wi-Fi. You install it somewhere discreet in the office. Then we leak false information." "What kind of information?" "Tell someone in the house that Mr. Rodrigo is going to travel for 3 days. That the mansion will be empty. I bet whoever put those cameras will take advantage to mess with his things." Celia hesitated. This seemed invasive, wrong. But what if someone was really planning something against Mr. Rodrigo, the man who paid for her husband's funeral, who covered Marcus's surgery, who gave her a house when she had nowhere to go? She had to protect him. 2 days later, Celia Pierre accidentally commented to Camila, Rodrigo's wife, that she had heard the boss talking about an urgent trip to Dubai, leaving that same night and only returning on Monday. Camila barely reacted to the news. A simple, "Oh, look it for him," and went back to her cell phone. But that night, at 2 in the morning, Celia's camera captured everything. The office door opened silently. A figure entered, illuminated only by moonlight coming through the window. Celia, watching live from her bed on her cell phone, felt tears well up when she recognized who it was: Camila Almeida, the wife. The woman went straight to the Portinari painting, removed it from the wall with precise movements of someone who had done it many times. The safe appeared. Camila entered the password. She knew the combination and opened it. For the next 20 minutes, Camila photographed documents meticulously. Contracts, bank statements, deeds. Every page, every line. Then she picked up her cell phone and called someone. "Yes, I'm sending everything now." Her voice was cold, calculating. 2 more months, and we'll have everything we need for the divorce. With this evidence, he won't have a choice. I'll end up with at least 70% of everything, and he won't even know what hit him. Celia had to cover her mouth to muffle a sob. How was this possible? 15 years of marriage, a beautiful daughter, and Camila was planning to destroy everything. But the worst was yet to come. In the following days, Celia investigated more. She discreetly followed Camila on her day off and discovered the complete truth. Camila had a lover, Dr. Enrique Tavares, Rodrigo's lawyer. The man he trusted to handle all his legal affairs was having an affair with his wife and helping her plan a fraudulent divorce. Celia managed to photograph the two together at a hotel downtown. She captured phone conversations where they discussed strategies. She discovered they were planting false documents to make it seem like Rodrigo was hiding money in tax havens, that he had illegal businesses. The plan was meticulous. The following week, when Rodrigo actually traveled to Dubai for a business conference, Camila would file for divorce. With the evidence that Dr. Enrique would prepare, Rodrigo would be caught completely off guard. His assets would be frozen, his reputation destroyed, and when it was all over, Camila and Enrique would split the fortune. Celia needed concrete evidence, and there was only one place she could find it: inside Rodrigo's own safe. That's when she spent weeks observing, waiting for the moment when she saw Camila entering the password. She wrote down each number and waited for the right opportunity. That Tuesday, when everyone should be out, when she could finally document everything and show Rodrigo the truth before it was too late. But he came home early. Back to the present. In the office, Rodrigo observed Celia with a mixture of confusion and growing horror. "Celia, what are you talking about?" The housekeeper picked up her cell phone, her hands trembling slightly. "It was all Rodrigo. Before I show you this, I need you to sit down, please." Something in her tone, in the absolute seriousness of her voice, made Rodrigo obey. He sank into the leather armchair, feeling the weight of an invisible presence on his shoulders. "Sir, do you trust Mrs. Camila?" The question caught him off guard. "Camila? She's my wife. Of course I trust her. Why are you asking this?" Celia took a deep breath, closed her eyes briefly, as if asking for strength, and extended her cell phone to him. "Then, explain this to me. Rodrigo took the device. On the screen, a paused video showed his office, filmed from an angle he didn't recognize. He pressed play. The first seconds showed only the empty room, illuminated by moonlight. Then the door opened. Camila entered. Rodrigo felt his blood freeze in his veins as he watched his wife, the woman he had shared a bed with for 15 years, his daughter's mother, walk straight to his safe with the confidence of someone who had done it 1,000 times. She removed the painting, entered the password. The safe opened. No. The word came out as a whisper from Rodrigo's lips. No, no, no. But the video continued. Camila photographing documents, Camila picking up the phone. Her voice, clear and cold. Yes, I'm sending everything now. 2 more months, and we'll have everything we need for the divorce. The cell phone fell from Rodrigo's hands. He was shaking, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. When was this? 2 weeks ago, sir. But she's been doing this for at least 4 months. 4 months. Rodrigo ran his hands over his face. How did you find out? That's when Celia told him everything. The hidden cameras, the investigation with Marcus's help, following Camila, discovering the affair with Dr. Enrique. With each word, Rodrigo felt his world crumble a little more. Enrique too. He laughed, a bitter and broken sound. The man who was my best man, who I considered my best friend. Sir, there's more. Celia picked up another cell phone, this one with screenshots of messages. I managed to access her laptop when she was in the shower. They're preparing a divorce lawsuit, where they'll accuse you of hiding money, of having shell companies, even of domestic violence. Violence? Rodrigo jumped up. I never laid a finger on her. Never. I know, sir. That's why I'm showing you everything now. They have fake documents ready. Witnesses who were paid to lie. Everything's scheduled for when you travel to Dubai next week. You would arrive at the airport and find out you're being sued, that your accounts have been frozen, that your reputation is destroyed. Rodrigo fell back into the armchair, his head in his hands. How had it come to this? Where had he gone so wrong? Why did you do this? He looked at Celia, his eyes red. Why did you risk yourself for me? You could have pretended you didn't see anything. It wasn't your problem. Celia knelt beside the armchair, tears finally flowing freely down her wrinkled face. Mirag Rodrigo, when my Carlos died, I had nothing, not even money for his funeral. You paid for everything. Casket, flowers, wake, burial. Everything, Celia. Any decent person would have. No, sir. They wouldn't have. She shook her head firmly. When my Marcos needed heart surgery, it was 80,000 reais that I didn't have. You covered every penny. When I had nowhere to live, you gave me the caretaker's house without charging rent. Her tears dripped onto the beige carpet. You treated me like family, Mr. Rodrigo, not like an employee, like family. Remember when Isabella had that high fever in MRs? Camila was traveling. You called me in the middle of the night, desperate, not knowing what to do. We stayed together at the hospital until 5 in the morning, until the fever broke. Rodrigo remembered. He remembered Celia holding his hand, saying everything would be okay, that she knew that doctor, and that Isabella was in the best hands. You cried on my shoulder when you lost that big contract 3 years ago. You said you were afraid of failing, of losing everything. I made coffee, sat with you until 4 in the morning while you vented Celia. No. Sir, let me finish. She wiped the tears with the back of her hand. I wasn't going to let that woman destroy you. Not after everything you've done for me and my son. Family protects family. And you are my family, Rodrigo. The silence that followed was profound, broken only by both their muffled sobs. Finally, Rodrigo extended his hand and helped Celia to stand. Thank you, I have no words, just thank you. But Celia didn't smile. Her face was even more somber. Sir, there's one more thing, and this is the worst of all. Rodrigo felt a new weight on his chest. What else could there be? Celia went back to the desk and picked up a document she had taken from the safe. A sealed envelope. She hesitated before handing it to Rodrigo. I found this at the bottom of the safe, hidden behind other documents. Rodrigo opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were several stapled sheets. At the top of the first page, in large letters, Genoma Laboratory Paternity Test Result. His heart stopped. No, he began to read, his eyes flying through the technical lines until reaching the final result. Probability of paternity, 0% conclusion. The alleged father, Rodrigo Almeida, is excluded as the biological father of the tested child, Isabella Almeida. The document fell from his hands. Isabella. His voice barely came out. My Isabella. Mrs. Camilla had this test done 6 months ago, sir. Without you knowing. I found screenshots of conversations where she talks with Dr. Enrique about using this as a nuclear bomb in the divorce proceedings. She was going to say she just found out that she would make you pay child support for a daughter who isn't even yours, just to humiliate you. Rodrigo couldn't breathe. 12 years. 12 years he had raised that girl, taught her to walk, taken her to her first day of school, cried with pride at every presentation, every achievement, and she wasn't his daughter. Not biologically. The memories came in a cascade. Isabella at 3 years old, running to him shouting, "Daddy!" for the first time. At 5, drawing a family portrait where he was a giant superhero. At 8, making a Father's Day card saying he was the best dad in the whole world. Lies. All lies. Mr. Rodrigo. Celia's voice, firm but gentle, brought him back. Listen to me. Look me in the eyes and listen. He raised his gaze to her, tears blurring his vision. My Marcos isn't my biological son, sir. He's my Carlos's son from a previous relationship. When I met Carlos, Marcos was 3 years old. 3 years old, sir. I raised that boy as if he came from my womb. She held Rodrigo's shoulders firmly. Blood doesn't make family, sir. Love makes family. You've been there for every one of Isabella's nightmares, for every scraped knee, for every school project. You were her father. 1041. Nobody can take that away. No DNA tests in the world changes that, but she's not. She's not. She is, sir. She is yours, in the way she laughs just like you, in the way she wrinkles her nose when she's concentrating, just like you, in the way she runs to the door every day when she hears your car arriving, shouting, "Daddy! Daddy!" Rodrigo buried his face in his hands and cried. He cried for Camila's betrayal, for Enrique's betrayal, for the truth about Isabella. He cried for everything he had lost and everything he still had to lose. And Celia stayed there, a hand on his shoulder, letting him release all that poison. When he finally calmed down, when there were no more tears to cry, Rodrigo straightened up in the armchair. He wiped his face with his hands, and something changed in his eyes. The pain was there, but there was also determination. Celia, his voice was firmer now. You gave me the truth. Now, let's give them something back. What, sir? Rodrigo stood up, went to the window, and looked at the immense garden outside. On the playground, he could see Isabella playing with the nanny. His little girl. His daughter, DNA or not. Justice. During the next hour, Rodrigo and Celia drew up a meticulous plan. First, Rodrigo couldn't let on that he knew absolutely nothing. He had to continue being the trusting husband, the man who suspected nothing. A single slip and Camilla could accelerate her plans or destroy the evidence. Second, they needed a trustworthy lawyer. Celia mentioned Dr. Paulo Mendes, a family lawyer who had helped a friend of hers in a difficult divorce. Rodrigo knew him by name. He had an excellent reputation and was known for being ruthless when his clients were deceived. Third, document everything. Every piece of evidence, every move by Camilla and Enrique. Build a case so solid it would be impossible to refute. Fourth, protect Isabella. Above all, protect Isabella. She couldn't know about any of this. Not yet, maybe never. That same night, Rodrigo met secretly with Dr. Paulo Mendes at a discreet cafe on the other side of town. The lawyer, a man in his 60s with graying hair and sharp eyes, listened to everything in silence. When Rodrigo finished, Dr. Paulo whistled softly. Rodrigo, in 35 years of career, I've seen a lot, but this is another level. Can you help me? I can, but you need to be prepared for what's coming. This is going to get ugly. Very ugly. I don't care. I just want to protect my daughter and what's rightfully mine. Dr. Paulo nodded. So here's what we'll do. We'll build a preventive divorce lawsuit. I'll need all that evidence your employee collected, the recordings, the documents, everything. We'll also hire a private investigator to follow your wife and Dr. Enrique. The more evidence, the better. And what about Isabella? The lawyer's face softened. That DNA test means nothing legally. You've been registered as her father for 12 years. You're the legal father, whether you share DNA or not. We'll fight for full custody, with evidence that your wife is an adulteress, a fraudster, and was planning to use the child as a weapon. Well, a judge is unlikely to give her custody, but she'll tell Isabella about the DNA. She used that to turn my daughter against me. She might try. But Rodrigo, that girl is 12 years old. She knows who her father is, who was there for all the important moments, who loves her. Children aren't stupid. They feel these things. In the following weeks, Rodrigo lived a lie. Every day he woke up next to Camila, said good morning, kissed her before going to work, had dinner with her and Isabella, laughed at jokes, watched TV on the couch as if nothing was wrong. It was silent torture. Every night, when Camila fell asleep beside him, Rodrigo lay staring at the ceiling, wondering how he hadn't noticed before. The signs were all there. The mysterious afternoon outings, the trips with friends that lasted entire weekends, the way she always kept her cell phone face down. How had he been so blind? Meanwhile, the private investigator that Dr. Paulo hired did his work. Photos of Camila and Enrique entering hotels, audio recordings of phone conversations where they discussed the plan, bank records showing suspicious transfers of money from Rodrigo to offshore accounts in the names of shell companies that Enrique had created without Rodrigo's knowledge. The fraud was even bigger than they imagined. Enrique wasn't just helping Camila with the divorce. He had been stealing from Rodrigo for years, diverting money from the companies through fake contracts and non-existent consultancies. When Dr. Paulo presented all the evidence, even he was shocked by the magnitude. Rodrigo, we're talking about at least 8 million reais diverted in the last 3 years. Enrique is going to prison for this. And Camila, as an accomplice. 1 week before Rodrigo's scheduled trip to Dubai, the trip that would be the trigger for Camila and Enrique's attack. Day R. Paulo gathered the entire team in his office. Tomorrow morning, we're going to file 3 simultaneous lawsuits, he explained, pointing to folders organized on the table. First, contentious divorce proceedings with a request for sole custody of Isabella. Second, criminal proceedings against Dr. Enrique for fraud, embezzlement, and criminal conspiracy. Third, notification to the Bar Association about his unethical conduct. Rodrigo looked at the folders, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. It was the end of 15 years of marriage, the end of a 20-year friendship, but it was also the beginning of a new life, an honest life. Are you sure about this, Mr. Rodrigo? Celia, who was present at the meeting at Rodrigo's request, gently touched his arm. Rodrigo looked at her, the woman who had saved his life, his reputation, his future. I am, Celia. For the first time in weeks, I'm absolutely sure of something. The next day, at 9 a.m., the lawsuits were filed. At 9:30 a.m., Camila received the divorce notification at home. At 10 a.m., Dr. Enrique was detained at his office by the federal police. And Rodrigo, sitting in his own office with Celia and Dr. Paulo by his side, finally allowed himself to breathe. Camila arrived home like a hurricane. Rodrigo was waiting in the living room, sitting calmly in the leather armchair, a cup of coffee in hand. He'd asked Celia to take Isabella to spend the day at a friend's house. What was to come wasn't for a child's ears. Rodrigo, the door burst open. Camila entered holding the divorce papers, her face red with anger. What the hell is this? Good morning, Camila. Coffee. He raised his cup, a calm gesture that only enraged her more. Don't play with me. Divorce proceedings, or custody request. Have you gone Sierra's way? Rodrigo placed the cup on the side table and stood up slowly. No, Camila. I woke up. I woke up from 15 years of lies. She blinked, confused. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the cameras you installed around the house. About my safe that you searched every week. About your affair with Enrique. About the money you two embezzled. Should I continue? The color drained from Camila's face. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. Rodrigo's voice exploded, making Camila take a step back. Not now. Not after everything. I have proof, Camila. Recordings of you in my office, photos of you with Enrique, conversations of you planning to destroy me. Everything. She staggered to the couch, falling into it. Her hands were shaking. How did you find out? That doesn't matter. What matters is that it's over. Everything is over. Camila was silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, she began to laugh, a bitter, brittle laugh. You think you're going to win, Rodrigo? You think a judge is going to take your side? I'm sure of it. Especially when they find out you were planning to use our daughter as a weapon. Our daughter. Camila jumped up, her eyes gleaming with malice. She's not your daughter, Rodrigo. She never was. I have the DNA test that proves it. I know. Rodrigo's calmness disarmed her. I've already seen the test. I found it in the safe. So you know you spent 12 years raising another man's child. How does it feel to be a complete idiot? The pain cut deep, but Rodrigo remained firm. I feel like a father, Camila. Because that's what I am. DNA doesn't change the fact that I was there for every moment of Isabella's life. You may have carried her in your womb, but I carried her in my heart. And that's worth more than any genetic test. How beautiful. How poetic. Camila crossed her arms. Let's see what you say when I tell her the truth. When she finds out you're not really her father. You can tell her, but I think she already knows who her father is. Who reads stories to her every night. Who taught her to ride a bike. Who dries her tears when she's sad. Rodrigo took a step toward Camila. You may have given birth to Isabella, but you were never truly her mother. You were always too busy with your lies, your affairs, your plans. Shut up. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Rodrigo picked up another envelope from the table. By the way, Enrique was arrested this morning. Fraud, embezzlement, criminal conspiracy. He's going to spend about 10 years in prison, minimum. Camila paled again. Enrique was, no. And you, as his accomplice, will also face criminal charges. My lawyer is already preparing the lawsuit. You can't do this to me. I can and I am. You tried to destroy me, Camila. Tried to steal everything I built. Use my own daughter as a weapon. Did you think I was going to let that pass? Camila began to cry, but they were tears of rage and frustration, not remorse. I hate you. I hate you so much, Rodrigo. I know. But you know what's funny? I still loved you. Even with all your flaws, with all your faults. I really believed in our marriage, but you never really loved me, did you? Camila didn't answer, and that silence was answer enough. You can get your things and leave. You have until tomorrow. After that, security has orders not to let you in. And Isabella? Isabella stays with me. You can visit her under supervision, if the judge allows it. But custody is mine. You can't keep me away from my daughter. I can when you tried to use her as bargaining chip in a fraudulent divorce. Rodrigo walked to the door, signaling that the conversation was over. Goodbye, Camila. As she went upstairs, sobbing, to pack her bags, Rodrigo returned to the living room. His hands were shaking, his heart was racing, but he had done the right thing. Celia appeared in the kitchen doorway, worry etched on her face. Mr. Rodrigo, is everything okay? He looked at her and, for the first time in weeks, smiled genuinely. It is, Celia. For the first time in a long time, everything is okay. Autumn arrived, bringing a new beginning. The divorce proceedings were resolved faster than expected. When confronted with mountains of evidence, Camila had no choice but to accept a settlement. She ended up with 20% of the assets, much less than she had planned, and the right to supervised visits with Isabella once a week. Dr. Enrique was sentenced to 12 years in prison for fraud and embezzlement. The Bar Association revoked his license. His career was destroyed. The fortune he and Camila had embezzled was recovered almost entirely. As for Isabella, Rodrigo never told her about the DNA test. He saw no need. She was his daughter in all the ways that truly mattered. On a Tuesday evening, 3 months after that fateful day, the Almeida mansion was different. The heavy atmosphere had dissipated, replaced by something lighter, more genuine. In the dining room, the table was set for 6 people. Rodrigo sat at the head. To his right, Isabella, excitedly talking about the science presentation at school. To his left, Celia, no longer as an employee, but as a guest of honor, a new minority partner in Almeida's companies. Next to Celia, her son Marcos and his wife, Juliana. And next to Isabella, Dr. Paulo Mendes, who had become not just a lawyer, but a close family friend. "Dad, are you listening?" Isabella poked Rodrigo. "I said we got first place in the project. Sorry, princess. I was just observing." He smiled, looking round the table. "I was thinking about how lucky I am." "Lucky how, Mr. Rodrigo?" Marcos asked. "Lucky to have real people around me. People who truly care, not about my money or position, but about me." Celia discreetly wiped away a tear. "Sir, you need to start making me cry at dinner. Aunt Celia cries all the time now." Isabella laughed. "I think it's because she got rich." Everyone laughed, and Celia shook her head. "It's not the money, my flower. It's gratitude." Later, when the guests had left and Isabella was sleeping, Rodrigo and Celia stood on the porch, watching the stars. "Celia, I'll never be able to thank you enough for what you did. Sir, you've thanked me too much already. This partnership, this new house you gave me and Marcos, it's not enough. It'll never be enough." Rodrigo turned to her. "You saved more than my fortune. You saved my life, my relationship with my daughter, my dignity. I just did what was right, sir. And that's exactly why you deserve all this and more." He looked at the sky. "You know, I spent years building an empire, thinking that success was measured in money, in properties, in power. But I was wrong. Wrong how? True success is measured in the people who choose to stay by our side when everything falls apart. It's measured in true love, not interested love. It's measured in moments like this, sitting here with someone I can call true family." Celia smiled. "Then you learned the lesson well, sir." "I learned from the best teacher. Inside the house, through the bedroom window, they could see Isabella sleeping peacefully, hugging her favorite teddy bear, unaware of all the chaos that had happened, protected, loved, safe." "Mr. Rodrigo," Celia spoke softly, "may I ask a personal question?" "Of course. Have you ever regretted it? Choosing to trust me, believing in me that day?" Rodrigo thought for a moment, then shook his head. "Not for a second, Celia, not for a second," and it was true. Because that day, when he came home early and almost fainted at what he saw, he hadn't just discovered a betrayal. He had discovered an unexpected hero, a true friend, a real family. Sometimes the angels that God places in our lives don't have golden wings or shining halos. They have worn aprons, calloused hands, and a heart bigger than any mansion. And Rodrigo Almeida, with all his fortune and success, finally learned that the greatest wealth wasn't in his safes. It was sitting beside him on the porch, looking at the stars, sharing a moment of peace that no money could buy.